And it's working, and we are live. Hey, welcome everybody. Welcome. Tracey, I just want to make sure you hear me all right here.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. You're very clear, which is great. Okay. I'm assuming this is going over to Facebook. Very, very clear. Everybody, I will introduce Tracey to you properly in a minute or two. I just want to not only welcome you, but from time to time on Tuesdays at 8 p.m., we'll be highlighting a number of people's stories and sort of like their adventures of life, you know, how they're living life out loud, the things, the challenges they've had, the excitement they've had, the things that they can pass on to people. But the first thing I really do want to disclose and make straightforward is these are always very straightforward, authentic, non-rehearsed interviews. Yes, Tracey and I have known each other for a while, which I'll go into in a bit, but they are that way. So please feel free as we go along to post your comments, questions. We'll get to them in time. But I also want to reiterate that in no way do we infer, even in the least bit, that we're out to cure ailments, to treat ailments. We just don't do that. Okay? What we will do is to share stories and bring some straightforward, tell it like it is, what have we seen, how has it happened, and perhaps some science about why some things may be happening along that line. So anyways, I see Bettina saying hi to you there. So everybody, let me introduce you to Tracey Craig. Tracey is at heart, I think, a Northern Ontario girl. Mm-hmm. She grew up, I think you grew up in Kapuskasing, didn't you?
I did. Yeah, Kapuskasing.
And for people from Kapus, or if you want to know Kapuskasing, if you've ever seen the television ads advertising a car out on the middle of a frozen lake trying to start or run around on frozen tires or whatever, that is Kapuskasing. That's where the big automakers send their cars to kind of show that they're winterproofed and that. Mm-hmm. But Tracey, today you live in Halton Hills. Mm-hmm. Tracey is a mother, is a wife. That's managing a household for sure, knowing that household. She also manages 100+ people at a big box store. Mm-hmm. She just told me a second ago as we were coming online that she's been up since 5 o'clock, making sure that is under control, particularly during this period of time, that sort of thing. But Tracey and I have known each other for approximately 13 years. Mm-hmm. And I think I'll let Tracey, if you remember, Tracey, I do well, but I'll let you describe, how did we meet? Do you remember that?
Vaguely. My boss was taking supplements. We were talking about supplements, and I said, where are you getting those from? When I found out what they were, and I had done my research. And he said, from this guy named Richard. And I said, will you share his contact information? And that got me in touch with you. And then we met from there and had some conversation. But it was just at a time in my life when I was looking for something. I was doing my research, and I found that I had bumped onto USANA, and then I found out he was taking USANA. And I went, what? And I said, who are you getting it from? And he passed on your name.
Right. Yeah, that's right. I got a call out of the blue from you.
Yeah.
That was in the little town of Georgetown, Ontario, where I was at the time. That's right.
Yeah.
And you say you bumped into USANA at the time. Do you recall how that came about at all? You know, people come from different pathways.
We had some health challenges. My husband was pretty recovering from some cardiac stuff that was going on and still not sure what direction he was going to take. So I was doing some research on that. I also have some serious health issues as well that I managed to keep under control myself through my own research and my own plan that I devised. And it was just the right time. It was just a conversation that we never would have had any other time, but we had it that day. And I went, really? And it just got me more interested.
Yeah. Tracey, as you're saying, you had your health challenges. Certainly, I just admire your lifestyle. You've been so proactive in dealing with things, right?
Yep. You're in control of you. Nobody else is going to take care of you but you.
Beautiful. Isn't that the truth?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the control issue is something that oftentimes people will hand off to other people. They'll call it their doctor. My doctor looks after my health, right? Now, don't get me wrong. I understand you have a very good, strong relationship with your medical team, correct?
Mm-hmm. I do.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that you turn around and ignore things that are going on that side.
My neurologist just says, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. He shakes his head.
Yeah. In fact, Tracey and I perhaps have an opportunity. You and I have an opportunity to speak maybe 2 or 3 times a year.
Mm-hmm. That's about it.
Right? And I think our last in-depth conversation happened maybe back in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And when it happened in the fall, you had indicated that the physician, you'd visit with him. He was taking, your measurements and things, whatever goes on every bit. But didn't he make some comment to you? I mean, I don't know if I'm imagining this, if it was another conversation. Didn't he make some comment to you like, yeah, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, but I don't know what to do with you? Was that right? Was it like that?
It was like that. I have, for most people out there don't know, I have MS, and I've been managing that for many years on my own. And this is a neurologist appointment, and I was having some memory issues, and I went in and said, I just want to make sure this isn't MS, that this is just age or whatever. We just want to check it out. Don't assume that because you've been diagnosed with something that everything gets blamed on that. So we went through the regular stuff, and he goes, I can't even tell from the tests I'm doing that you have MS right now. He knows from the MRIs I do, but he doing the foot stuff that they do and the picking you with needles and stuff. He goes, wow, like, I don't know what you're doing. It's been 20 something years, but just keep doing it. He said, I can't explain it. So I know what I'm doing.
You know what you're doing. That's right. And for 13 years, you have really put together your own lifestyle, right? And diet and exercise, which we'll all talk on in a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And of course, as you're saying, your USANA supplementation that you researched and went into, and you put those pieces together on that side. Yeah. Can you share with us a little bit what that, because people will be watching this many times, will be interested. They'll be customers of USANA or looking at being customers, or they're USANA associates or that sort of thing. What does your regimen look like, your USANA regimen?
Twice a day. And it's my little, I call these my little old lady thing, but it's not full of medicine, it's full of vitamins. So I take the essentials, I take proflavanol, I take Biomega, I take the Copa Prime now, thanks to you. I got introduced to that. That stuff's amazing. And I take a significant amount of vitamin D because I don't absorb it. And that might be an MS thing. I don't know, but medical tests have shown that I don't absorb vitamin D. So I have to take at least 4,000 units a day minimum of that every day. And I take CoQ10 as well. So
gotcha.
I don't think I'm missing anything.
No, not much. And we'll come back and touch on the coconut, because the coconut, the Copa Prime.
Yeah.
But for other folks that may not be familiar, customers or people in the future, okay, get with the person who sort of appointed you to this particular video and such. They can tell you what those particular products are on that, and you can go from there. But yeah, so you have been doing that for 13 years, but 12 years ago, out of the blue, I got a call from you, totally out of the blue, and you're on the other side of the country, or almost on the other side of the country. You're out in Alberta.
Yep.
Do you remember that phone call, Tracey? Do you?
Yeah, I was talking to my mom, and I was talking to my sister, and I was talking about the supplements, and they were asking me questions. And I forget what the book's called. I have it upstairs, but it's the one that goes through all the supplements, and it's a nutritional book. That's it. I'm a data girl, total data girl, and I absorbed that book and went through everything. Yeah. And I bought that book. I brought it with me, and I said, "You've got to look at this. Like, look at what you're taking, Mom. That stuff, you're not absorbing any of that. Like, why are you wasting your money?" And we went through it, my mother and my sister, and they just went like, wow. So they were quite interested in it and wanted to know how I could get them involved in getting their stuff, etc. So that's what we did. I just called you up and said, how do I do this?
Well, I remember just slightly different. You're absolutely right, but I remember it just slightly different.
Okay.
And here's what I remember. Now, maybe I'm totally wrong. Okay?
Sure.
Maybe stuff. Okay, so don't. Yeah. But here's what I remember: the phone call, ring, ring. Hi, Richard Cameron, how can I help you? That sort of thing.
Yep.
And you went, hey, I'm out here in Alberta. I got off the plane, and my mom and sister said, what are you doing? You look better than you've looked in years.
Yeah.
I remember you told me I could make some money doing this. How do I do that?
I do remember that.
You remember that?
Yep. Yep.
And I went, well, you're in Alberta, so why not instead of around the corner? Okay, let's figure this one out. That's right. Yeah. But yeah, that's right. But yes, you are a data girl, because I remember you asking questions and going through in pieces and giving you the information, whatever, right?
I drove you nuts with phone calls.
No, but I think that's great because, you know, everybody's a little bit different, right? There are folks that are really analytical. There are people that just want to go out and save puppies, right? With nothing wrong with that, right? There are people that just want to go out and play. There are people that just want to go out and just show me the money, right? That's in little bits and pieces on that. And so everybody's different. And one of the neat things is we have the ability to be able to provide the information in the best way that suits the individual. Because in the end of the day, what we're just talking about is optimal cellular nutrition. Mm-hmm. That's what we're doing, to provide optimal support for all the body systems that way. So here you are, an MS, I don't know, what do you call it? Is it a sufferer, Tracey, or is it an MS, you know?
It's a label. It's just a label.
It's a label. Okay, yeah. And I know you're involved in that community.
I am.
Right? And you work in that community, you know, and provide guidance and things and stuff. I know you've got a big heart on that side of things. But you've also been very active. I know through all the years I've watched you do everything from, you know, rip up the yards and redo things and such, right?
Gardening.
Yeah, that's right. And do all that sort of thing. But over the last year, let me just preface this a little bit. A lot of times when people do not take an active role in their health and they become, quote, the victim, it has been my observation, at least through the last 14 plus years now, in working with people, and when I watch people embrace their illness, or I don't even know how I call it illness, but just their physical state, and embrace it in a negative way, that I sort of watch this spiral happen in various things, right? That's just like, you know, I'm ill, I'm sick, I've got these things, I take these medications, I can't do this, I shouldn't move and do that, and those things happen. You, on the other hand, when I talked to you in November, shocked me. Absolutely shocked me. It's like, are you kidding me? What did you start doing in November? Or maybe it was October, maybe it was September. But what was it that you decided to do?
After 30-something years, I loved hockey. I sit there in an arena with my daughter, who's the captain of the hockey team, day in and day out over the years. And I thought, this is my dream. This is what I used to do. And I stopped thinking I could do it. And I thought, you know what? No. I hit a certain age and I went, no, I'm perfectly fine. I can work on my balance, work on my core. It's exercise. If I'm protected with equipment and I fall down, I'm just going to get back up. And literally the first 10 times I fell down, I couldn't get back up because I was laughing so hard because it didn't hurt because I invested in good equipment. But the more I went, the more I loved it. And at this age, the people that I was skating with, they were like, wow, good for you. And they were so supportive. But I love it. Right now, the rinks are closed, so I can't continue. But I plan on being enrolled in the fall on a women's hockey league. It's been a lot of fun.
That is just great. I mean, that's so inspirational for people. It just is. Here's a person who's been dealing on a proactive basis with an underlying condition that many people would say should be leading in one particular direction. And here's Tracey on the other side, actually taking it a whole other level and being really a shining example. That's not to say that other people who have multiple sclerosis don't have it in other ways that manifests itself maybe in more dramatic ways, right, Tracey? I mean,
everybody's different. I have balance issues. When I'm on the ice, I look like I'm probably had too much to drink most of the time. But you know what? I can still contribute in the game. And it's building my core. It's strengthening my body. So while I'm out there living the dream that I gave up on many years ago, and I'm living it now, it's strengthening my body. So it's a win-win. I've got nothing to lose, and I'm getting better every time I get on the ice. So now I don't even think about it. I just get on. My body's already trained to help with my balance. So I've made such great strides already. So I'm so excited.
That's fantastic. Just absolutely fantastic on that side. On the other side of it is there are other things that you do, lifestyle-wise, undoubtedly. One you and I have talked about, so I'll just chastise you just one little bit, okay? Because I know for MS, and particularly a lot of people, but MS and stuff, the one contributing factor that we see a little bit is the amount of sleep. So you as a mother and a wife and managing 100 plus people who were, you said, up at 5 o'clock this morning, I know that's that one area that's challenging for you. So there must be some other things that you are doing, maybe in diet, hydration, that sort of thing. Maybe you could share that with people.
Yeah, I try to live a balanced life. The one thing, my Achilles heel is sleep. And that's just because I have hamster brain. My brain's always going. It doesn't really slow down. But when I do sleep, I have a Fitbit app and I monitor. I've always got it on. I monitor when I sleep deep. So there's no sleep apnea happening here. My sleep is deep. But I do eat as proper as I can. I try not to be a stress eater. Most of the time, it's more setting an alarm to remember to eat because I'm so busy I forget to eat. But my pattern my whole life has been between 4 and 6 hours. So that's normal for me. When I sleep 8 hours or more, I actually feel like I've been on a bender. It's just not normal for my body, but I might be making up for it in the supplementation, the exercise, hydration, and nutrition.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
that's it. That's fine. The other thing I would like to ask on that, and just shifting gears a little bit to your husband, Paul. I think that was the original sort of entry point to the kind of USANA journey you've been on as a family, right?
Yes.
And was there some recommendation at that point from a physician that said, hey, maybe you should look into this particular company, that sort of thing?
Yeah, that kind of blew me away because I wasn't expecting that. My husband's family's in Australia and New Zealand, and there's some physicians in the family, and we had been mailing all his tests to his mother, and she shared it with the family doctors. And one of the members is a thoracic surgeon. He will not deal with any patients unless they're USANA supplemented. And that's right. Wow, that's one of his things. It's like I can't be on an MS at one of the MS clinics unless I'm on their medication. The minute you say you're not taking it, you're fired. So he's the same. He says, if you want to be my patient, this is the protocol that I expect you to follow to help yourself and help your health. And he looked over Paul's tests and had some recommendations, and we've been on that ever since.
And you've been on that ever since, which I'm not proud of it.
Yeah.
That reminds me of a physician, and we have somebody on here, Sherry. I think Sherry knows him, a physician out in Illinois, Rockland, I think, who just got sick and tired of seeing the same patient on his table. He's a cardiothoracic surgeon as well. It's the same patient on his table, like in 10 years. And like going, enough is enough. So he actually incorporated it into his practice. And he just said, okay, this is it. Okay, we have to keep people from showing back up here, right? By being proactive and being active in their own life, rather than saying, okay, I'm back in for a major, rebuild of the engine on that side. And as you probably know, or other folks may know or not know, another very famous cardio doc, a heart surgeon, Dr. Mehmet Oz, who of the Dr. Oz show is very closely aligned with USANA. USANA is a trusted partner of the Dr. Oz show, but he loves to come out to the research and development folks in Salt Lake. There's close to 80 scientists out there that are just doing nothing more than the research and the research and the research, and then teaming up with third-party entities, other teaching hospitals and research hospitals and the like, to see if they can continue to improve the human condition. But as we know, that heart is one of the things that is taking people way too soon, all the way, not only in North America, but around the world. So that's very, very cool on that.
And my husband was like 36 years old when he had his first major event and had a triple bypass.
Wow.
Because of genetic causes as well. But that is young. That was one of the first people that age that they saw at Trillium Health Center when he was there. I still had a baby in my arms. So it just blew us away. That this stuff, he's been on it ever since. It's been 19 years and he's doing fine.
Yeah. Gotcha. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, look at everything we do helps you love life and live it. That's the way I look at it, right? Yeah. If you see my little logo back here, I say, love life and live it now, right now. Don't wait, right? Let's do that. But
the one thing I wanted to share with you, though, Richard, was in October. I was at a dog show when I was talking to you in the car.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And you sent me as a gift. I think they had just released it at the convention, the Copa Prime, and I went, yeah, whatever. And you sent it as a gift, and I didn't try it right away. I did start. And I thought, what, if I'm going to do this, it says you have to be on it for a while. So I added it to my monthly order. But I can't believe the amount of stress and pressure I'm under the last, I don't know how long this COVID thing's been going on, but it's been insane. And I know that this has made a huge difference in my cognitive function, because I don't think I could have handled it as well as I'm handling it now without that support. So I'm like blown away. There's nothing that I've noticed that's had that much of an impact on my day-to-day life and the amount of snap decisions I have to make, the amount of processes we've had to change. It's day-to-day. We're changing major processes. Today was a huge one. And I'm saying the only difference that I've made is in this. And this is, I'm like blown away. Blown away. There's been nothing that's made that much of a difference. I actually went to have MRIs last year and the year before because of cognitive function deficiency. And now I'm sitting here going, wow, I can't believe I'm going through this right now as smoothly as I am. And that's the only difference that I've made. So I don't get any cuts for this on this product. I just know that it's something new that I tried, and I can measure the difference in the last 6 months where I was to where I am now under 3 times as much pressure and stress.
It is an incredible, I call it, I was going to put it right here somewhere. Maybe I've got it. Yeah, here we go. That's the name of it. Copa Prime Plus. Again, folks, if you want to know more about this, get with the person who's invited you to this, or you can also go to a site that's very cool. It's called askthescientist.com. You can put in the information about what the heck is Copa Prime. What is it that makes it, unbelievable? And I call it unbelievable because not many people go, wow, I just woke up smarter than I was last night. But that's what you're saying, Tracey. That's right.
I'm just saying the stress and the amount of changes that we've had to make as a business are like, it's unrelenting. And I mean, every day it's major changes that involve 100 or more people that we have to do. And it's day in and day out as the government's changing things. I'm sitting here going, wow, I know last year I wouldn't have been able to handle this. Not the way I'm handling it today.
That's incredible. In fact, the folks that are on here who are associates or that sort of thing, I'm going to really suggest you get out there into the field a little bit and just bring some hope to people. That's all. Just bring some hope. A lot of people get muddled during these periods of time as well, too, with stress and, in the home, and the kids are running around, buzzing around, and there's just a lot of things that have got people scattered in all kinds of different directions. And I'm not saying that this is something that's going to give them a, here I take it and I'm like Roger Ramjet, but I do know that it's something that is part of my daily regimen. You know what's interesting about this stuff, which is kind of cool, is the dosage on it is 2 of them a day. Mm-hmm. And all the research, in fact, the stuff that they were doing with cognitive analysis and things, they were saying that we can't justify a person taking more than 2. In other words, sometimes there are some things you might take that if you took, 3 or 4 of them, like a little bit more fish oil or more vitamin D, like in your case, right, Tracey, you just need to do that, right? They can't see any reason why to take the dosage any higher than 2 a day. And probably the best to do it is in the morning. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Is that when you take yours, Tracey?
No, I take 1 in the morning, 1 for breakfast and 1 at dinner time.
Okay.
I don't know if that's right, but that's when I do it.
Hey, do what works.
It's consistent, right? Every day it's consistent. And it's been about, 4 or 5 months I've been on it. So it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
It is. It is. I was just checking to see if there's anybody who has any, let me go to here. If anybody has any comments, any questions that they'd like to ask. Tracey, anybody? I know this has a little bit of a delay, so when I say that, it'll be like, 8 seconds before people hear it.
Yeah, no problem.
But we'll see. But I see Sherry earlier said, yeah, it was Dr. Carter, Dr. Tom Carter, who's the cardiothoracic surgeon there out of Illinois, who's doing that as well. And if we don't have anything else you'd like to add to this in your journey?
It's been really interesting. It's funny. We ran out one. I don't know what happened, but I think I gave some to my daughters, some of my supplements, and I ran out. And I noticed I got a headache like right away for 2 or 3 days until I got my new supply in, and then it went away. My husband's noticed that as well. I think that's rather interesting. Your body goes through withdrawal if you lose the good stuff. It's a really weird phenomenon. The other thing is when I have different things that happen in my life. If I play too much hockey or I'm doing, I decided to take up jogging one year. That wasn't too smart. And I hurt myself. But then there's other supplements that I'll go to and use those until my body's healed, and then go off of those ones and go back to my regular routine. Mm-hmm. So it's my go-to place. USANA is my go-to place. I don't have to go to the drugstore and get drugs. I just open my USANA medicine cabinet and pick out the stuff that's going right into my cells to fuel my body and heal my body.
Wow. That's and I know you've introduced it to a few other people through the years.
I have.
It's there. Yeah. And by doing that, of course, it does, has some other benefits, that way it can help offset costs and things for folks,
Yeah.
People from all different levels and walks and such come into this business, and they know that when they have a personal experience, it's something that they take, mm-hmm. something that is a benefit to them, that you really don't have any issue, at least sharing it and determining if that's a journey somebody else wants to be on or not that way.
Well, it's an investment in your future. Everybody takes vitamins. So what quality of vitamins are you going to take and put into your body? And I want to know what's going into my body, because there's some nasty stuff out there. And I want the best to go into my body because I'm going to get the best results. So it's been, 2007 since I started USANA.
Yep.
And my MS has been stable. I'm doing things I've never done before. I'm with Cobra Prime. I'm seeing differences I haven't seen before that are good. So sleep, I think that's just my thing. If I get that down pat, I'll be, hey.
Well, we do have a product for that, by the way.
Pure Rest.
That's right.
Pure Rest. Yeah.
Put it under your tongue, but Pure Rest won't work if you actually don't put your head on the pillow.
Yeah, no, when I put my head on the pillow, I'm out cold, and that's probably my gift, is I get such good quality sleep that I don't need a lot of sleep. So that's what I'm thinking. That's my logic anyway at this point.
It also can be that your nutritional profile is one that maybe you're just not getting banged up, for deeper repair, during the day. I don't know. I'm only speculating, but
yeah,
I see that with some athletes. I work with a lot of highly competitive athletes, that are really pushing the limits. We help them push it a little bit farther. right? And the neat thing that we found is that we're able to help them recover quicker between workouts, and they end up with less injury, which is really interesting, which I think has to do with biomechanics, that they're just not that tired, right? Here's something that Sherry wanted to share with you. Sherry, again, she comes from the medical community out Illinois way.
Okay.
But vitamin K2 with the vitamin D works well to increase the absorption. Vitamin K2 is not available in from our Canadian office.
Okay.
But as an associate, you can order the standalone vitamin K2 from the Salt Lake office directly to you.
Thank you.
And that's just the idea. And if you do that, I would just suggest that you get multiple units because it's a flat rate shipping that comes out of there.
I'm envious of the people that live in the States when it comes to USANA, because at one point a few years ago, they had a vitamin D study that I signed up for, but I'm Canadian, so I couldn't be a part of it. But they were interested in my inability to absorb vitamin D at the levels I should. And I went, So I missed that study.
Well, you never know. I do want to pass on your testimony to USANA regarding the Copa Prime. I think it'll have of interest to the scientific crew there. They may want to look at that a little bit deeper as well on that side. They did studies with it in Australia. Okay, so who the heck knows on that side of it? But yeah, so it is available via the U.S. site on that side. And thanks, Sherry, for sharing that. That really gives a big help. That's right.
Yeah.
On that. So I was talking about the athletes. So we end up in this whole cycle where they're recovering quicker. So they're able to increase the intensity of their workouts without breaking down. They're not getting injured biomechanically, like end up with ankle and knee and stuff and issues that way, more minor things. Not going to really stop, the U.S. ski team, the competitive, downhill and slalom and stuff, are big advocates of USANA, but you're not going to keep a bone from breaking if you fall doing 90 miles an hour down a hill, right? USANA is not an immunity bubble. It's not like just this big thing. But the other thing that's interesting, and one question I want to ask on this, because I see it with the athletes, and I'm not saying this is the cause, but I do know that I see way less illness with them as compared to the people that they're like competing against. So when they're getting, some of them are combat arts folks, so they're cutting weight, they're doing the things, they're really putting their body under stress at the same time, to make the difference. And they're not coming down with the flus and the colds and the things and stuff. Have you noticed that at all across yourself or Paul or anything that way, that you're not so susceptible?
Well, at work, stuff goes through work pretty bad, and there's been some really bad flus and colds the last couple of years, and Paul and I have evaded both of them, so we've been pretty lucky. If I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing and I let myself run down way too much, then I get what I deserve. That's my own fault. But for the most part, we don't pick up stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. The cell essentials that you're taking there, along with the proflavanol you're talking, really do provide an underlying optimal, immune support, profile. It just does. Okay, when we see the science, we just know what it's doing, and that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize I was adding Copa Prime to my order the other day, and I've got it on my auto order, but I didn't realize that there was Proflavanol 200. I went, where did this come from?
Oh, yeah.
I missed that in translation somewhere.
Yeah, no, it was just introduced to Canada not too long ago.
Okay.
Proflavanol 200, so it's double strength of the Proflavanol C100, right? Mm-hmm. So each one of those tablets is equal to 2 of the other.
Okay.
So if you look at that from a dosage standpoint, you end up in a much, even better thing. And we won't go into what all Proflavanol does tonight, because that's something altogether different, but it's
good stuff. It's good stuff.
It is. It is good stuff. That's right. Dr. Wentz was brilliant in his formulations of so much of this sort of thing. But
it's funny. My husband takes the plain vitamin C and takes it twice a day, and I take the proflavanol. We both.
Yeah. The Poly C, right? The Poly C.
Take Poly C. Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I know somebody who's on here right now. She was talking about that's what she does. In fact, when all this nonsense hit, this COVID nonsense hit, of course, USANA got inundated by everybody. Poly C, we have another particular product that's called Proglucamune, which if you've been reading the news, anybody about beta glucans and the like sort of thing, Proglucamune. Okay, that's what that is. But Proglucamune was back ordered. Poly C was back ordered. But you know what? USANA worked around the clock. I mean, they got those things filled quickly. I mean, pushed out just quickly on that side of it. That's just it. Bettina just said on that. Yeah, she loves the C's, both of them. So Bettina's also a holistic nutritionist. So yeah, she does things. But yeah, so that's that side of it. But you are such an inspiration, Tracey. You just are. To me personally, your journey, the things that you've done, taking a hold of just what life has dealt and said, I'm going forward full blast. And you've made a big difference in a lot of people's lives. And I think tonight too will make a lot of difference in people's lives, not just tonight, but when people watch this tomorrow and the next day and next month, and who knows, maybe next year, they'll hear the journey of Tracey Craig, and who picked herself up and said, how much do hockey skates cost now?
And most people don't know where I was. I was paralyzed on the left side for like over a year. So like to go from that, not being able to walk, to being able to do what I'm doing now, it's, hey, you've been given that opportunity. You take control of your health. You do what you need to do and you fight. You don't just lie down and play dead. I had 2 other people diagnosed the same time as me, both people I respect, and both of them are not walking today. They did not fight. They just took the diagnosis and they rolled over and played dead and did whatever the doctor told them to do. And I get mad and I said, no, you're not winning. I decorated my first cane. It was going to be a cane. It was going to be the coolest cane. And I thought, I'm not using this. It's still in my closet. I keep it as a reminder. But you've got to fight. You have to take responsibility for your health. You have to do your research, and you just have to do it. And you have to invest in yourself. Nobody else is going to do it. You've got to do it for you. Right? I only live this life once. I want to live it right.
Wow. That's a wow moment for me. Thank you. Thank you for that. I didn't know. I did not know. I absolutely did not know that did. Look at that. Sherry, again, out of Illinois, touching, right? Is inspiration. So positive. Keep up the fight. That's amazing.
Yeah. I would have sold my soul to move my toes at one point in my life, just to watch them move, and I couldn't move them. So to go from that to this, like, you can never forget where you were. You can never forget.
Wow. I mean, you hear me. Wow. I don't know what else to say except, wow, I'm just blown away. I am just blown away. I didn't, we've had discussions, but I didn't know that was the state in which you found yourself at one point. I didn't know that, Tracey. Yeah, that's it.
That's why my neurologist is blown away.
That's right. You should have your picture blowing up on his wall and said, you too can be here. Okay, let's get to work. Let's put these together. Well, I know that as you run into people, as you continue on with life, I know you run into people every day, because when you're managing 100 plus people, yeah, you run into people every day. But when you run into people as you go through your life that are just looking for that solution, just to live out loud a little bit, right? To live in a state of vigor and vitality, right? And energy, not in decrepitude and exhaustion, right? But in that energy, that you can share your story with them. And boy, your story is one that inspire people from any walk of life. I don't care where they come from, healthy, ill, somewhere in between. Like, I kind of think maybe I'm getting ill, but I kind of healthy. Everything else in between. That story is one that I'm taking with me from tonight. I just am, and incorporating into my discussions with people.
Pretty personal. I don't share it a lot, but that's where I was. That's where I was as a newlywed. It was a horrible thing, and just you have to take control, and you have to make a decision.
And your girls are how old now?
23. They just had birthdays. So Kayla's 23, and Krista just turned 19.
19 and 23.
Yep. And they said, don't have kids. And I went, I'll show you. Give me a challenge. No, at the time they said that there was no chance of it going through the gene pool to your children. Since then, we've learned that there is a possibility. So we keep a close eye on them. Kayla takes the products and takes USANA. So she's aware, and she's been tested, and she's fine. Krista hasn't yet. So we'll keep an eye on her as well. But no, they know. They see us fill up our little containers every Sunday night. It's a routine. Paul and I have the dining room table to get it through the next week. So they know it's part of who we are.
Wow. That's what goes on. That's the thing that way. And at the end of the day, you are the inspiration of your household. Okay. They know your story. They know what's going on. Of course, your mom, so it's never quite that bad, right? but that's just what's there. But this story will move people. I'll tell you that right now. I know it's moved people. I know it's moved people here that are live here right now. I think there's 8 or 9 folks that are on here live right now. And
everybody's MS story is different, but you can't give up hope. Like, you've got to try. Then you've got to, there's solutions there. Give it a shot. If you just sit there and just do what they tell you to do, you're just pumping your body full of stuff that's new, that's not tested over the years. And I did try those things too, and I did not stay on them very long. I thought, no. The cure is worse than the disease. And no. So you got to be careful.
So were those pharmaceuticals things that were being prescribed to you, or things that you were just like saw online? Or
no.
It was online then. Yeah.
Back in the day, Avonex was one of the up and coming MS treatments, and it wasn't covered under insurance, and it was $22,000 a month. It was covered under insurance under a special one I got, so I was paying significantly less than that. But it was an intramuscular injection. It was one of the big needles. It hurt, and like I said, was never really sick, but I felt sick after that puppy once a week. I was very sick. It was like I had the flu all the time. And I ended up Paul had to give me the injections because I couldn't do it myself. I ended up with an allergic reaction and was taken off that drug. And I was so happy. I felt much better not being on it. And then they wanted me to go on a daily injection of something else, and I refused. And then I was thrown out of the MS clinic, where they do basically, I'd say, experiments on MS patients because these drugs weren't trialed that long. Everybody's so desperate for improvement that they're willing to do anything. And I did what they told me to do and gave it a shot. And I wasn't really that bad at the time, but I definitely did not feel better. I felt worse. So off I went.
Wow. So you felt like, you were really a guinea pig.
That's how I felt. And when the drug company calls you up, because if you have a reaction, you have to call them and tells you to immediately get off of it. That's not a good sign. I had an allergic reaction to Avonex, and I thought, okay, that's not cool. That's not cool. Yeah. And it was very stressful. Paul had to inject me. I couldn't do it myself because it was the big needles. You had to mix the drug before you injected it into yourself. It was just a very stressful time. And that was in the early 90s when all these because back in the day, there was nothing. So in the early 90s, they came out with all these new drugs, and it was just speed to market. And some people do have some MRI-based lapse in progression of disease. But when they do MRIs of my head, there's still plaques there, but none of them are active. And they haven't been active in 20 years. So I'm very, very fortunate.
This is good. This is a very good thing.
Yeah.
Well, folks, if anybody doesn't have anything to add here, any questions to pose to Tracey? I don't want to keep her too much longer. We're on here for 45 minutes so far. I told her I'd try and keep it under an hour where we are. I figured 50. There we go. Here, Bettina's got a little something she wanted to add to that. Listening to your body is sometimes better than listening to the best intentioned medical advice.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's very cool on that side
Yeah.
of it. And sometimes we have to also look at ulterior motives that are happening. I've got questions going on right now and all this stuff floating around with this COVID and stuff. We know that there are some things that we can do to strengthen, I don't know if we call it strengthen, but to support our immune system in a very positive way. Most of it, though, is longer term. In other words, riding up to a time like this. And we know that sometimes we dance around other issues that take place. For example, it's really, really, really clear with this COVID that lifestyle-induced diabetes, prediabetes, just obesity, high BMIs, high blood pressure is a real big problem for folks who contract this COVID, like real big problem, like they're in big trouble sort of thing, right? So that's kind of a lifestyle thing, right? That's kind of a thing that people can deal with, but it's really not being talked about a whole lot in the media, right? Or by even the medical community that much. Some folks are touching on the things like zinc and vitamin C and vitamin A and how that can have real positive things for, immune and lung and respiratory support. But that seems almost like fringe to some folks that's going on. And here you are kind of like with your physician. And I just sort of, laugh at it. I know he is very sincere and he's very happy and he's very glad and he wants to see you progress and going. But, and I know he's overwhelmed in our healthcare system, absolutely overwhelmed. So in some ways, it's completely understandable when he says, I just don't know what to do with you, Trey. I don't know what to do with this information. I don't know what to do with the things that you're doing and how I could implement that for other people, because it's really outside of his protocols, right?
Yeah.
It's outside of his lane, so to speak, right? It's not that. But you are a prime example of something that really does work and be. So you become the advocate for that. You become that person who is out in the public and say, I'm not treating, I'm not curing, I'm not doing anything that way, but let me just share with you what I am doing and how I am living.
Mm-hmm.
And that's sort of like the guy who finds, as if you're a fisherman, anybody out there, fisherman who finds the secret fishing hole.
Yeah.
Okay. It's like, I know where they are. If you want to know, I'll be your guide, sort of thing, right? That sort of thing. So that's that piece of it. But yeah, it's interesting times we live. Well, that's it, folks. Nobody has any questions, anything up? Tracey, you have been an inspiration. You have been a model for people for years to come. You are a model for people to come. And it has been such a pleasure to know you over the last 13 years.
It's gone fast. 13 years. Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
But like always, as I always say, if there's anything up or any questions up or stuff, I'm as close as your keyboard or your phone.
Mm-hmm.
And I know you're plugged into the USANA community. And I know you're plugged into a whole host of other communities. And if there's anything that can be done, I'm pretty sure you're going to do it. You are. So that's it. So with that, I'll just bid adieu. And we'll talk again in the future. Okay?
Okay. Nice seeing you, Tina.
Summer. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Take care. Right. Bye-bye.